which NFL teams are making the playoffs and who's staying home. It's Who's In, Who's Out on 97.3 ESPN FM, South Jersey's football station.
All right, South Jersey's football station, your home for the Eagles and the Lions. Thanksgiving. And because of the Eagles and the Lions, thank gosh we don't have to carry the Cowboys.
Cowboys, Panthers. How about that?
That's going to be a good game. I actually wish we could carry that game. Unfortunately, because of our Eagles agreements, it would carry too long, so we won't have that middle game, but we will have the night game. All right, who's in, who's out? Let's find out, John. AFC East, Patriots, they stamped it last night. They're 5 games up in the East. They virtually will win the division this Sunday.
By Thanksgiving, as we assume. But I'll tell you right now, Patriots 10-0. This team is decimated. Bold prediction, Patriots aren't going to the Super Bowl. There is too many injuries. You saw them struggle offensively last night. That's going to continue. Danny Amendola's hurt now, which happens every time he plays, so that's not a surprise.
All right.
But that Edelman injury, that was a
I might not disagree with you. By the way, I downgraded them in my Fine Five, Ugly Five. I'll have that tomorrow on the show. I did that last week. I moved them down the ladder. North, it's Cincy by 2 games over Pittsburgh. Any reason to think the Steelers can make a run?
No, I don't think so. Cincy's a very good team. Logical loss against Arizona. Said this was going to happen.
Lost 2 in a row.
Yeah, people are going to start panicking because of their history. Still a very good football team in very good shape. Bengals win the AFC North.
All right, let's go. I agree to the South. We've disagreed on this the last couple of weeks. I'm sticking with Houston. I thought that was a nice win for them last week. They've won 3 in a row. They've answered the bell, and I think that Houston team is getting better.
There's 4 undefeated quarterbacks in the NFL. Give them to me, Mike.
Well, they don't play for the Texans. I know that.
No, Matt Hasselbeck is one of them. Matt Hasselbeck, Tony Romo, Tom Brady, Cam
T.J.
Newton.
Yates is an undefeated.
Until the Colts, that's true. Until the Colts lose an AFC South game, I'm sticking with them. They still haven't done it.
I agree with you.
I
I hear you there, but I think the Colts' schedule's pretty tough down the stretch. If they don't get luck back, I don't think Hasselbeck's going to win some of those tough games. We'll see. We'll see. I think Houston's schedule's easier than the Colts. And look, the Texans have won 3 in a row. That's a nice sign for them. They're turning things around out there.
Good, solid defense, but the quarterback issues are just too much.
All right, in the West, Brock Osweiler will start again this week for the Broncos. The Chiefs have won 4 in a row, but I think that Broncos team is too far ahead.
Yeah, they're too far ahead. Too much money in the bank. Broncos are winning that division, but the Chiefs are coming, and the Chiefs are solidly in one of the wild card positions.
I've got them in the wild card spot too, John. I'm going to pair up the Chiefs with the Steelers. So be my 2 wild card spots.
Same here. Big Ben has the Steelers going in the right direction. A lot of issues defensively. It's not a typical Steelers team, not your father's Steelers team, but still good enough to be a wild card.
And I'll tell you, John, there's not a lot of wild card options in the AFC. We talk about the Eagles being bad and bad football team here, and they're bad, and this team's bad. There's only one team in the AFC with a winning record that's not a division leader, and that is Pittsburgh. Everybody else is 500 or worse.
Yeah, and the Jets seem to be going in the wrong direction. Bills, a tough loss for them against New England last night. The Raiders, everybody was stoked on them, and all of a sudden 2 straight losses. Not a lot of hope in that. The one team going in the right direction, Andy Reid's Chiefs, 4 in a row.
They've won 4 in a row. And, all right, let's go to the NFC side of things. We'll work our way from the West up. Arizona is 3 games up, and they beat Seattle. It's Arizona going to win the West.
Yeah, it's the best team in the NFC. Most talented team. You saw it with Carson Palmer getting a little revenge against Mike Brown in Cincinnati. He enjoyed that.
They're a plus 120.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
A tremendous team. If they bring their A game in the postseason, they're going to Super Bowl 50.
Last week I had them number 1 in the Fine Five. They are 10-0, and they are running away with the South. They are the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers, the Falcons are falling off a cliff. Panthers are 10-0. Cam Newton, to me, the MVP conversation is 1A and 1B, and Cam's in it with Tom Brady.
Let's go to the North. Minnesota last week. I had Minnesota the last 2 weeks. I'm going back to Green Bay because Green Bay went to Minnesota and won.
What did I say last week, Mike? Until the Vikings beat the Packers, Aaron Rodgers owns the Minnesota Vikings. That team is 10-1-1.
Green Bay still has flaws.
They have tremendous flaws, but they have Aaron Rodgers. He's been masking deficiencies. We talked about when he went out, Green Bay couldn't win a game. When he's in and when he's bringing it, they're tough to beat.
By the way, caller in the warm-up today talked about when could Chip Kelly have gotten his quarterback? Would Teddy Bridgewater have been a acceptable pick instead of Marcus Smith?
Oh, forget about it. Not only Teddy Bridgewater, also Derek Carr that year.
Same draft.
Same draft. They got Marcus Smith. Same team. If you're looking at Louisville tape and you pick Marcus Smith over Teddy Bridgewater, but there's where plausible.
They're on the same team.
There's where plausible deniability comes into it, because at that point you could still blame that pick on Howie Roseman. I think it was Chip Kelly, but he can at least kind of pawn it off. They should have picked Bridgewater.
In the East, I'm going G-Men.
I don't want to pick any of these teams. I don't want to pick any of these teams, but I will pick Big Blue.
Let me ask you this.
Eli
the
Manning.
Giants, Redskins, Eagles, Cowboys. Now with Romo back, is that a better division than Colts, Texans, Jaguars, Titans?
It's a good question. No, I would say they're dead even. Houston's a great defense. I think Indianapolis with luck, even though he hasn't played that well, and the Colts as a whole, I think it's a slightly better division. But they're both, they're both awful. So
yeah, well,
really doesn't.
And look, if you go around and take the top team out in each division, the second, third, and fourth team in every division stinks.
Yeah,
except for like two.
Depends if you want to use stinks or mediocre or parity, whatever word you want to use. Everybody's the same except for 2 or 3 people at the top. The Giants, though, I guess, have been the most consistent of this dreck.
They stink.
They deserve to be in the top spot for this week.
All right, wild cards. I'm going Minnesota, and I'm going Seattle. Seattle is in. Atlanta, you're a fraud. I knew you were a fraud. I've been telling you you're a fraud. You stinking fraud. Atlanta, you're a fraud.
Think about what's happening in the NFC. This is going to clarify itself because Minnesota goes to Atlanta this week, and the week after, I think Minnesota plays Seattle. And those are the 3 teams. So I could see the Vikings falling off the table here. For now, I'm keeping them in it, and I'll say Vikings and Seahawks, but the Falcons can stop the bleeding by holding home serve against Minnesota.
Atlanta, I told you were a fraud, and you stink, Atlanta.
Atlanta's most popular radio personality, Mike Gill.
You stink out loud, you Falcons, you frauds. All right, that's our who's in, who's out. There you go. The 12 teams we believe will make the NFL playoffs.